Welcome back to Take a Knee with Mike and JD. I'm JD.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to be doing our Week 11 review of the 2022 NFL season. We talked a little bit before recording, and it's really the fight has left both of us really at this point. You go through the stages of grief, and now we're just in acceptance at this point.
Yeah, exactly right. And, I'm not going to have too much to say about the Packers this week because it's all been said before. Like, for me, the same issues we've had all season are still there. They haven't been fixed, and they don't look like they're even trying to fix them. Like, the defense is still terrible. I mean, I don't know how many times Joe Barry needs to watch other teams just, walk down the field while they're playing prevent defense to go, hey, this might not be a great idea. Like this, I don't get it. I don't understand how he is a coordinator in the NFL. Like it just doesn't cut it. And for me, like if I was Matt LaFleur, I'd just be going like, how many times? In fact, if I was Matt LaFleur, I'd be saying, you do not call that scheme the whole game. If we lose and we get blown out, I'll take the rap for it, but you do not call that again. It's fucking ridiculous. Rodgers is still missing wide open receivers by yards, even though a lot of the media that is on his side want to pretend that they're not open. Like that's simply not true, and I won't accept that. Like that's not true. Like I'm watching the game. Like I'm seeing receivers wide open, literally waving their fucking hands. And the ball's missing them. So there's just not that much to talk about in that regard. As I said to you before, and I've never been one of these people like you should tank or whatever. But I'm not necessarily saying I want them to intentionally tank. But at this point of the season, where we're no chance of doing anything, even if we somehow jagged a final spot because all the other teams that should be winning are also losing, we're not going to do anything, and all we're achieving is a worse draft pick. So it's kind of one of those things where for the rest of the season, I just want to see things that are improvements for next year, but not necessarily wins. Like if I can see some stuff where guys like Christian Watson continue to develop, the defense, which I think with the right coordinator calling the right scheme can be very good. If I can see stuff like that, but we don't get the W, that's probably best case scenario. And that sounds fucking awful hearing myself say that, but that's where I'm at.
Well, it's funny because like our teams are kind of in the same spot, even though our Hall of Fame quarterback left last year, but like you said,
so did ours. He's just still picking up a paycheck and showing up on Sundays.
Both the Packers and the Steelers. What was so frustrating about watching the games is they both had a chance to win. It wasn't like they got blown out. They kept the game competitive, but the things that we always harp on, the offense goes 3 and out. The defense has to go out there again for an 8-play, 9-play drive. They, sometimes they'll stop them and they'll get a punt, and then our offense does nothing. So then, like the second half against Cincinnati, I mean, we had the lead going into halftime. It was 20-17. And then the offense comes out and just does nothing. Just 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And a fatigued offense will always beat a fatigued defense. Just because, the offense knows what play they're running. A tired defense can't react quick enough, or they're too tired, they can't get the right push. So what just to sort of say on the Packers, so they did have a chance. Their defense came up with a big interception. Their special teams got a big return there in the second half, fourth quarter. So even though the offense wasn't doing great, the other teams, the defense and the special team, gave Aaron Rodgers 2 gifts. They lost by 10 points. Two things. That's 10 points right there. You could have gotten and tied it at least. So it's both games for both of our teams. It was the offense came out and just did nothing, especially in the second half.
And that's what that's what's so frustrating. Like that was a fantastic pick, and not only did he intercepted, he got great yards after it, but it was the kind of thing as soon as he got tackled, like when he didn't return it to the house, I'm like, okay. we won. Like I knew that we wouldn't. I knew that we would do nothing with it. It was like it had to be a pick six or we lose basically, which sucks. And then there was that other big return, and they did nothing with it. And for me, it's just the way that they do it's the way that the 3 and outs happen. Like it is just.
It's like,
so
what are
bad.
the plays? What's the idea?
Yeah, that's right. What are the
crazy.
plays? And just going away from when you're in that point of the game where you've been given this gift to come back in a game you probably shouldn't be able to come back in. Go to your strengths, keep handing it to Aaron Jones, but also stop going for these big down the field plays. They haven't worked, and that's what's frustrating. Like I could understand if they'd been coming off, they have you're playing a team where their run defense is fantastic, but their secondary is awful. Okay, go for it, but that's not the case, and they just Rodgers will not go for the high percentage efficient throw. He just, even having probably his worst season I've watched him have, he still goes for the hero ball down the field when it's such a low percentage chance. I can't. I want to see Love in there now. And I'm not. I mean, for mine, I don't think he could do any worse than Rodgers. He certainly won't get the kind of
you would think Love could at least
patience.
move out of the pocket and do other things with his legs that Rodgers
Yep.
Rodgers can scramble, but if you have a young guy in there with legs, that also extends plays. Or instead of Aaron Rodgers having to throw it away in the pocket, Jordan Love could scramble for 3 yards or 4 yards or 5 yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and like we talked
That's
about
exactly
before,
right.
you need to see what you have with Jordan Love right now, because
Yep.
there's good quarterbacks coming out in the draft this year, and that tells you what you're going to do with Aaron Rodgers in the offseason. Had they would have traded him to Denver. Now, obviously, it would have been Aaron Rodgers in Denver, so who knows? If he's playing like he is right now, Denver's probably not much better than they are right now either. But you look at Seattle, they look great coming out of that trade. I mean, they got they're
absolutely.
Their pick, the Denver pick is in the top 10 right now. So if you imagine, the Packers would have traded Aaron Rodgers, gotten a top 10 pick with Denver's pick, and then if they struggled this year with Jordan Love, you got 2 top 10 picks right there. So as we said before, and it is funny because last week we were both very optimistic because our teams had won. So it was that middle of the season, this is it. You won. You need to continue to win. Like we talked about, the next 2 games will tell us what type of teams they are, and they immediately both go out and lose games they could have and should have won. So it's as far as the Steelers, they were down. I think it was only 4 points at this point. They get the ball at the 50. The Sims. The first punt of the game, he fumbled into the end zone and he got it out, so they had to start at the 3-yard line, and it's hard to start a drive when you're up against your goal line. But Sims, for the rest of the game, was giving the Steelers great returns. He got a return out to the 50. The first play, Najee Harris, 11 yards, and then the next 3 plays after that, all negative. It was penalty, 2-yard gain, sack. It was, you couldn't have started a drive better and then totally fucked it up. And the score makes it look closer than what it was. The score was 37-30. The Steelers scored with seconds left. They would have had to gotten the onside kick and then threw a Hail Mary to even tie it. So yes, there was a 1 possession loss, but it really wasn't. It was a 2 touchdown loss basically. And they did a pretty good job containing the run game. It's just they could not stop Joe Burrow at all. Throwing it, and that just reminds me, TJ Watt, again, playmaker, makes an interception at the line of scrimmage, gives the Steelers the ball at the 25, the Cincinnati 25, and all they can do is get a field goal off of that. Good teams make teams pay for turnovers. You score.
Absolutely.
And you look at Tennessee, what was this? They're 100% scoring in the red zone or something, or within the 10-yard line or whatever. So when they get it in there, they score. Tennessee's a good team. So the stats back that shit up. So when you're a team that your defense can get turnovers, you have Minkah Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, KZ can intercept it. It's you need to then convert those into points. And it's always, and like you just said, if it's not a pick six, if it's in the opponent's territory, it's only going to be a field goal because they just don't score off of that.
Yeah.
Pickett looked pretty good, especially in the first half. Now, I wouldn't say that he looked bad in the second half. I think that, like you said, for the Packers, the play call was just insane to me. They still refuse to throw to the middle of the field. And it's always it's always sideline throws and runs right up the middle. There's just like nothing. It honestly is like a person who's never played football is calling plays right now. And I don't think Kenny's even allowed to audible out at points. Like, I think he's told to just run the play that comes in. So even if he sees a package that's in for the defense that's good, sometimes he's not even allowed to audible out, which as to why you wouldn't let your young quarterback learn and see what he sees and switch the play. Now, he had really good throws. It's just he didn't have any time in the second half to make any plays. His line was falling apart. The left side of that line is just atrocious. And you can't have a bad blind side offensive lineman because, like I just said, they're the blind side. Your quarterback can't see the rush coming from there. And I couldn't tell you and how many times the Bengals rushed 4 against the Steelers 6 and were already pressuring Pickett or sacking him. You have two more guys than what they are rushing, and it's like they're just, saloon doors. That's why Pickett really couldn't do anything in the second half, because they were able to drop 7 guys in the coverage and rush 4 and still get a sack because this line was just playing very poorly. So Najee Harris continued to play a bit better. Jaylen Warren, he's a first down machine when they need a first down. He somehow always gets it, but he got hurt. But I like what I've seen from Kenny Pickett the last couple of weeks. Obviously, not turning the ball over is really good. He had an easy touchdown pass to George Pickens for like 30 yards. He was wide open, and it was actually a really nice play call. But like I said before, like you said, I still will root for them to win, but losses won't hurt as much for the rest of the year, because if they lose, okay, you're getting the 7th overall pick, 6th overall pick, even if they win out, they'd be 10-7. There's going to be so many other AFC teams that are 10-7, and guess what? You lost to almost all of them, so they all hold the tiebreaker. So it's not mathematically impossible for either our teams to make the playoffs, but it would be highly unlikely for that to happen. So, I just hope they take these. They're going to have 3, top 50 picks, basically. 2 linemen and a corner. Make the good picks, and you can sort of come into next year pretty okay. You still got Minka under contract. You have TJ Watt under contract. They're getting older. You can't rebuild for 3 years, So, the business side of it right now is kind of more important than the game side, in the sense that, like you said, if you continue to lose, we're going to get higher quality in the draft. So that's the only solace that I sort of feel going into these last, 6 or 7 games.
Yeah.
So, well, they got our hopes up and then they dashed them almost immediately. We were like last week, we're like,
exactly.
all right, they're right there, kind of. It should be okay, and then nope, just so.
Done.
So thanks for watching our video, guys. Please leave your comments down below how you thought the week went. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. But thanks for checking us out, and I hope you have a nice day.
Thanks, guys.